Welcome to the Hardcore MBA podcast with your host, Erlend, Bakke.
Hello, and welcome to Hardcore MBA. I probably should do this, which means sound cut if you've ever done any sort of movie work or film work. I have been in some TV ads in Norway, not as the main character, but as the guy in the background holding a sign or something, and then they used the... So we're now ready. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. And we're both in London. You're heading off to Spain next week. So Hayley Quinn is, a dating coach, both for men and for women. If you go to her website, hayleyquinn.com, you basically get a question: are you a man or a woman? Right? Because the sort of art of seduction is different. For both genders. If you're interested in getting, let's say, more than 3.5 million views on a YouTube video, then you're definitely in the right place, because Hayley has a very, very popular YouTube channel. We're going to be asking her questions about how she's managed to get 65,000 subscribers, massive YouTube presence, and she's also been featured in many of the biggest newspapers and magazines in the UK, but also in the world. FHM, Daily Mail, now Cosmopolitan, The Telegraph, The Independent, BBC Radio, and the Huffington Post. And you've been doing this work for a long time. And what really got you started in teaching other people dating and seduction?
Well, to be honest, it was an accident. It was also about revenge, because I had a really bad run-in when I was about 18 years old with the pickup artist community, which is men teaching other men how to seduce women. And I was like, what is this evil stuff? And because of that, I started to explore and read about it. And my first graduate job was as a ghostwriter, writing copy and content like ebooks, blogs, for some of the characters that were in that famous seduction guide, The Game. After that, as I was one of the only women who knew about men's seduction, I was able to step forward and do coaching with people. And then from that, I splintered off and started my own business and started working with women as well, which is kind of where my passion is right now.
Okay. So what year are we in right now? Not now, but then.
So that was I found out about it in maybe 2008 and started actively working in 2009, and now we're in 2016. So I've been around for like a long time, and that's literally my only ever job that I've had since I graduated from university was this, which is very strange.
Wow. And what was it that happened in terms of the pickup people?
What do you mean?
What was the incident that triggered your...
Okay, so I grew up in a kind of a small rural community in Cornwall, and I really liked this guy that I met. He was actually my favourite DJ. I fell hopelessly in love with him, and he actually went away when we had just started dating. And to me, by the way, I had no concept of dating. I thought if you're with someone and you love them, that's it. And then I remember when I was in that zone, he went away to the pickup artist convention in Las Vegas and actually used his pickup artist skills to have an orgiastic experience with some women that were there for the porn star convention, and the two things run along at the same time. So I was like, what is this stuff? I was suddenly plunged into a world of different models of sex and relationships and dating, and the concept that you could learn skills around this. And to be honest, I was extremely afraid of it in the beginning, but I chose to go down the route that I'd rather have got control of my sexuality and explored my comfort zones rather than living in fear of sex and dating forever. So that's kind of what started me off on this, from a very traditional background, actually on a really experimental journey through love, sex, dating, and relationships.
And of course, The Game was a game changer for a lot of people. It was one of those big waves that came where everybody sort of read that, like a lot of men read that book, and it was a big thing. And what's kind of happened with that wave? Like, so people were reading the Game, people were talking about it. It was this whole pickup community thing. Is that still going on, or?
Yeah, I mean, what I think interesting about the pickup industry is it's like any movement in art. There's different waves of it. So you had like the first people that started off, like Ross Jeffries, who was very much doing NLP, hypnosis, language patterns. Then you had people like the mystery method, which was kind of a bit more let's wear a hat and kind of more crude behavioral psychology. Then following on from that, you got a bunch of guys that said, actually, do we really need to learn all this stuff? Surely we should learn actually how to be natural and authentic with women. So that kind of a second wave was about being just your true self, and maybe approaching women during the daytime as opposed to being in nightclubs. And then there's like a third wave, which has said, hey, it's not really about women at all. It's in fact about us becoming our best possible selves as men. And so you'll find that in that, people in the industry now are talking much about how you can form your own business, how you can get into super good shape, spirituality. There's all these things that are happening at exactly the same, that are happening at the same time. And why I'm also so passionate about working with women's dating is because actually it feels like women's dating is still in its like first wave. There's no counterculture to it. There's only one route that's suggested to meet people, and no one's really been questioning and examining that. And so that's where I'm hoping to come in.
So there's not really any female dating coaches.
There's definitely there are people that are teaching women, but what I mean is there's one dominant message, right? Like all the companies that are currently working with women share, which is like the dominant company is get the guy. Then there's catch him and keep him, which is also pretty big. The rules, and more or less, even if get the guy is more practical and nicer, you will find that they all embody the same message, which is, it's about how do I achieve a man. Like the man is the central point and focus. And in fact, it means that every step that a woman has when she's approaching dating is about whether it's restricting sex because she wants to, demonstrate things to the man or get him to invest in her more, whether it's dressing in a particular way or not answering his texts in order to get him to invest more, whether it's about how do I get this man to be with me, or how do I get my ex back. Like this is what all the marketing, the branding is saying. And someone, I think, which is what I want to do, really needs to come in there and say, hang on a second, this is not the right way to approach anything. Because I think when we become really outcome focused and we structure our lives around somebody else, we lose all of our power. And I think, in fact, women need to look at dating through a woman's art world view and down with the patriarchy in a nice way. So I'm trying to, and I do the same when I still work with loads of men, and I speak to them in the same way. I did a talk for a group of guys last night, and it was very much based around how they can understand and communicate with women better, but from creating more empathy for women through understanding. So I'm not actually about one sex having the advantage on the other. I'd rather actually we have neutrality, and we both sexes and all people work to be the best selves and improve their communication.
So in terms of sort of these games that we play, so a book that I've been reading for a long time, the reason why I've been reading it for a long time, it's called 48 Rules of Power, basically. Oh, yeah. Quite a sort of heavy book, quite a sort of, you need about a day per chapter because you need to digest it. And it's a, I'm not sure how, like, do you believe in like frequencies and energy and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay. So that book is, for me, it's like a very heavy, dense energy. It's like you got sort of Mein Kampf here, and then you got like 48 Rules of Power, like a little bit above, and then you got like the Bible or something, or other spiritual books up here. So it's like, for me, it's like it's draining to read. So power games and these games that we play is, I mean, it is used by a lot of people, politicians, business people, and also in relationships. And at least in business, oftentimes when I'm out selling, I will sell using some of these techniques to get people in. However, when we deliver, because you have great salespeople that will use seduction to get in people, whether that's a relationship or a person or a customer. But then when it comes to the relationship afterwards, it is a different experience. Like that's when we have integrity and deliver. Because I guess the challenge is like, I'm coming to my point, but hooking somebody is is it more challenging being your authentic self, or do you need some gaming to be able to just get people in so they can see your authentic self?
Yeah, personally, and I have a really strong ethical stance on this, I just don't believe in going in for it and doing it. So I've literally, with my personal business, I'm in the process of pruning out. I've had people maybe working with me on my business who have been marketing people or sales people. Now I've got rid of them all, and I'm just actually doing everything purely ethically. And it won't be the best thing that will mean I will get the most customers or anything like that. But I just really, 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 really dislike, the climate that is in personal development, actually, of amplifying somebody's fear and from a fearful place making them buy into an idea. In fact, I'd rather put them into an empowered place and get them to believe in a concept and that there's actually a different thing they can go behind. And so my whole business is, instead of saying, oh gosh, what if you've just broken up with some guy? This is the window of opportunity. He's going to be doubting it. These are the messages you need to send him back. You need to instead be saying, look, right now, let's not even think about this guy, right? Let's look after yourself. This is a vote for you. So it's much more about community, and it's much more about empowerment. So I'm consciously changing that because it's one of the things that I want to change in terms of how we deliver and communicate with people. I also believe that as people engage with the internet more and they buy more of these products and services, they're going to I would hope that they get savvy and they'd be more intelligent and more aware of how these marketing techniques and sales techniques are being used on them, and instead will choose to go with something that treats them like an adult human being and treats them ethically.
I mean, I've sat in internet marketing conferences with people that are just like, they're awesome at selling, and one-on-one with me, I said, so, how long do you keep a client for? And they're like, I don't care. I'm like, what do you mean you don't care? No, because I only care about selling. And I was like, really? Because you can't build a legacy that way. It's very short term. It's like, I just need money today rather than thinking long term. And it's terrible for the industry, and it's not good. And I think people are getting more savvy. The question is, like, how much money would you be making if you kept every single customer you ever got? And by that I mean, like, if you deliver lots of value when you have a customer, not only will they keep buying from you, but they'll also recommend you to other people. Now you have referrals coming in. So I totally agree with you. It's like,
yeah, and I have a great, I consistently with my training as well. I don't like lots of people in the dating industry will offer 2-day boot camps or week-long intensives. And I actually consciously don't do that. With my women, I'll have a 1-day seminar where they can learn a bunch of stuff. But I generally am a huge fan of long-term relationships with my clients and long-term training. Because, as nice as it would be if in 2 days you could learn everything that you needed to know about dating and love and then go out and pull someone, really that isn't the nature of the beast. You might fall in and out of relationships at each stage of the journey. When you're meeting other people, there's different challenges that you face. So it's really important that I maintain a great relationship with people. And then we work together over a really long period of time to give them the life that they want.
And in terms of working with men versus women, are you still going to be working with men?
Yeah, definitely. I think actually it's great for them to... Of course, I would say this, but I think it's great that they actually hear a voice out there. Like when I did my talk last night, I was speaking to the men about why they should never use words like slut, and how actually that pays into a wider system where women feel restricted in terms of their sexuality. They don't feel like they can express themselves. Therefore, less sex, less babies, less relationships all round. And so it's really important, I think, that actually men have a female voice that's ethical, that they can listen to, that actually represents women and how they're feeling. And you don't have to listen to everything I say, but I think it's important to represent in that market too.
So do you do like a workshop for men and then for the women, and then do you get those men and women together?
No, I don't. And that's because men and women have different issues
when
it comes to dating, and they don't line up. I'm also a big believer that you should teach someone to fish rather than give them the fish, because I think how we view relationships is a lot that, how much effort and investment we put into them dictates how we feel. about them afterwards. So I coach people in that space. Also, men will typically, their issue might be that they have a fear of rejection. They struggle to say hello in the first place. They struggle with being sexual because they've been taught that that's creepy or weird or bad, or that they're not allowed to do that. They've also maybe been taught that, in fact, when with women, to not be very open about either what they're feeling or what kind of relationship model they might want. Women, on the other hand, again, they struggle to communicate what kind of relationship model they want. They struggle with the idea that there's good guys and bad guys out there in the world, and they struggle to know where to find men. They struggle to know if they should be approaching men or how to get more men to approach them. And their fear is more about choosing the wrong person or not having anyone at all, versus men, which is usually inability to get started in the process in the first place. So they're kind of running on two actually oppositional tracks. If you think about it this way, if a man fears approaching a woman because he's worried he's going to get rejected, and then usually when a man approaches a woman, the first thing that she does is like she looks a bit shocked or uncertain. And that's her exhibiting her fear of being abandoned or making a bad choice, or she's really uncertain about these guys. So the two problems kind of feed into one another. And my whole job is to just try and break that cycle and actually get more people just to be more open and more expressive, to both sexes to feel happier with saying what they want, both sexes to be happier with being sexual, both sexes to be happier with approaching someone if that's what they want to do, and both sexes being completely comfortable to state what they want in relationships and what their expectations are.
So it's like men are meant to be hard, strong men, right? And women, they're scared of the bad guys.
I think that masculinity and femininity, we don't have a lot of access to that in a place like London or, maybe Northern Europe or America. We don't actually have many great role models which teach us how to embrace our gender, if that's what And I know there's lots of pan-gender and people on a whole different spectrum that this doesn't apply to. So, for instance, with masculinity, I think a lot of the time it can be thought of as what's masculine is like winning in a fight or having sex with lots of women or being a leader or something like that. And in fact, that's not how I view masculinity. Likewise, with femininity, lots of women maybe don't get the chance to be feminine because they're so, maybe they're working in a job that's extremely demanding. They're actually the boss. They're in charge. They don't actually need a man. So they forget their female prerogative about how they can react and respond in different situations. So usually it's about a process of tapping back in to the masculine or the feminine at different points in time and being comfortable with expressing that.
So if somebody's a female entrepreneur listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, how should they go about sort of being an entrepreneur, which is kind of like still a man's world? I know there's lots of female entrepreneurs, but traditionally you go to meet up for entrepreneurs, there's going to be more men than women. So how can you, as a woman, be a great businesswoman and an entrepreneur and keep your femininity?
I actually think entrepreneurialism really suits women. I think it actually suits women more than like a typical 9 to 6 working week. Because a 9 to 6 working week was designed for men, right? It's very consistent, very regular. In fact, as a businesswoman, you can develop your business plan, your time and your strategy around how your energy levels or your emotional state or what you feel like doing might vary. It also can mean that you can adapt your working hours if you want to have children. That's something you want to do. It's much more flexible and it allows you to create a timeline and a work path which really suits you. I also think women are brilliant and the feminine is really awesome at being all things at all times. That ability to be, running between child there, making a sales call here, doing some work there, like we're naturally good multitaskers. And so I think actually entrepreneurialism suits women. It's not something that they should be afraid of. In fact, it's something they should embrace. I often think about how lucky I am to have started up my business when I did. And actually the freedom and the lifestyle that it's given me has been amazing. It's not that it's come without its challenges, but actually the challenges that are faced in terms of maybe, especially with men, whether colleagues or peers, being able to be assertive and to establish yourself nurtures a really good other sense of qualities in you as well. So I can't give a stronger vote for women starting their own businesses.
That's those are really interesting insights. And is that saying that men should actually embrace their more feminine side because they'll actually be better in business, or are men naturally sort of liking structure in one direction? And
Yeah, I mean, I think both things are complementary, right? Sometimes you want structure in a strong direction and to be rigid. Other times it makes sense to be fluid and intuitive and open to different interpretations of things. So I think actually, truly, that, as it always has been, the masculine and the feminine should complement each other as long as one isn't threatened by the other. Like a man doesn't see, actually, just because the woman isn't responding to things in the same way he does, it doesn't mean that her response is lesser or not as important. If I've had guys say to me, at least I'm not getting emotional. And I'm like, God damn it, emotional is just as much of a valid response to a situation as logical. It's just different. And so I think the more that we can actually build out that message, that there are different forms of communication, there's different emotional states, there's different approaches, but it doesn't mean that one is superior to the other. We've probably been told that one is superior to the other. That's not actually necessarily the case. And there's something that we can borrow and learn from both strategies.
One of the things that I talk about with my clients is if you want to build a business, you need to have basically 4 different personalities. But another thing that I talk about is like every business needs like a mama and a papa. So the papa kind of does the male stuff, and the woman does the woman stuff. And it of course depends on how they are as people, and you can even have like 2 men or 2 women that fill those roles, right? So doesn't have to be like male female. It could be 2 women. One is more masculine, one is more feminine. And the reason for that is because sometimes like staff just need somebody to go and talk to about problems, and then they'll go to the more feminine person. And if they just need something done or like a fast decision, they'll go to the man. I'm not sure these are perfect examples, but in the companies that I have people that have those roles, and it seems to work really well. It's just really fascinating to sort of think about sort of the male and female sex in terms of business. It's very interesting. So let's talk about YouTube. Let's talk about how did you get started on YouTube? What advice do you have to somebody that wants to be popular on YouTube?
Well, you know what? I think I put up my first video years and years and years ago, but I only really started to work on my channel 2 years ago. And I have to give a shout out to my camera guy / YouTube guy, Dan at cameradan.co.uk. He's awesome and has been just one of those people that's actually really supported my business and has been instrumental in helping it to grow. What I discovered is there's a few things that have made a difference to my YouTube. One, consistency. If you do something with regularity, it will gain traction, definitely. So the first thing that you can do is get onto a regular schedule, like have a video that's coming out maybe every Friday. Brand it nicely so it has an intro and an outro, consistent branding, and so that your viewers know when a certain type of video is coming out. I also have videos that do different functions. So I have that content that is regular, so it just means that there's every week my viewers will get something. Then I also have videos which really demonstrate what I do, so coaching videos showing my work so that people can really experience how I work with people. They won't get the highest views, but for people who want to engage with your business and learn about what you do, they can often be the best ones. Then finally, I also do videos which I think might go viral and will gain traction and will help to build my channel. And I had that one, which actually isn't a very good video. It just has a very good title and it's a bit silly.
Isn't that weird? Like how, like you never know what's gonna be. So I'll tell you about my most popular video. Okay. Right. So basically my company is an image editing. One of my companies is an image editing company in the Philippines, right? So what people do is they sit for like 8 hours a day, like editing images. So they're clicking and using their fingers and hands all the time. So I was like, I've had RSI in both my hands. So I was like, okay. So I had problems. So I researched it. I learned some like techniques and like how to like fix my hands. So I made like I got my business partner to hold my phone and just film me for 5 or 10 minutes, just showing like how to avoid RSI And it's got
See, that's so cool because I literally had RSI like 2 or 3 months ago, and it was so annoying. It was like, you know, like I was like, I need my right hand.
Yeah.
Much, you know, and you don't realise. And I can see how that would have such a relevancy. And I'm literally going to look up that video now and learn the little hand exercises I can do.
Yeah.
But it's funny which ones blow up. And for myself, I've developed quite a good PR relationship with some press outlets. And because of that, because of the PR outlet around press, they will often re-syndicate my videos, which means they'd embed the video in their news outlet. And it's because it was great content, you know, it's funny or a bit different, it was reasonably well shot, decent audio quality. Because of that, it meant that being embedded on a much bigger site meant that my YouTube videos grew significantly in terms of the traction that they got. Then I also discovered that basically what videos worked with me, and I chose social experiments, so they're not very scientific, meant that when I was testing something, and I usually test things like, you know, if I dress differently, do people react differently to me? You know, how does the world alter when I change? Which does relate to dating, because I'm often actually about how we should step away from physical judgment of people, judging a book by its cover, whether that's when we Google someone before a date or what they first look like. And instead, we should really try to engage with them as a human being. So because of that, that's what the root of that. And those became my most popular videos. And now if I release a social experiment video, it's going to do so much better than all the other videos on my channel. But that's allowed that growth to happen. And it's also been in like this awesome, just creative outlet for me. That's been super fun.
So what do you think about those videos really tap into people's sort of need to be entertained, curiosity, adventure? What is really...
Yeah, and also people's, again, fear. You know, people want to know. They want to go, oh, if I'm a brunette, does that mean less people like me? Mm-hmm. Or if I'm dressed this way, does that mean less people like me? Because we're always looking, right, for that one thing that makes people like or dislike us, you know, in our physical appearance. Instead, what you're going to find is that actually what I want people to think about is instead, you know what, even if with something, you know, something about you, and everyone has hang-ups, right, whether it's their age, their height, their wealth, their weight, you know, we'll all have something that really bothers us. And, you know, it might be that you're a single mum, or it might be that you're a dating coach. I don't know. There'll be some people who won't be into that, and that you've got to go, that is okay. I will scare off happily 90% of people if there's 10% of people in the world who value me, who understand me, who get my vibe. That's okay. And I think then if we getting into the mentality of performing for ourselves rather than others, it will always serve us better.
So why do we have this need to be like a part of us wants to be liked and loved by everyone?
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
You know, I think we're all born with it. First of all, need isn't a bad thing to be liked or loved. I think that's a really important point. It's human. I think sometimes our society overemphasizes us being hyper independent and actually not expressing our needs. Like if we want a hug, we want someone to hold our hand, we want someone to talk to us about something, that's okay. Get that, that's okay. And you know what? The second you go, my need is natural, my need is human. And in fact, humans are meant to be interdependent. We're social creatures. We thrive on supportive relationships with family, friends, romantic partners. And actually getting that to line up creates a secure base where we can then go out into the world and we have the confidence to like smash that business or go travel around the world. So stop being weird about need. Need is okay. Accept it. If anyone also tells you you're being needy or you're demanding too much, I just get rid of them.
So, what is your sort of revenue model for your YouTube channel? How do you turn that into cash, which people might be interested in?
Well, you get advertising revenue for being on YouTube, but to be honest, it is tiny. Like the amount of money I get, unless even my biggest viral video, which has got, I said, like over 3.5 million, nearly 4 million views. I probably got like a couple of £1,000 for that. It's really not like, it's not like a big, unless you're a massive YouTube star, which I'm not, it's not a big earner in that respect. The one thing it does is it drives traffic very effectively back to your website. So probably I'll earn more money from people watching a video that has 10,000 views of me coaching someone and then going, oh, actually, Hayley seems really authentic and really nice. I'd like to work with her, visiting my website and maybe choosing to work with me there versus actually just playing the video a lot of times and me earning advertising revenue. You can also, if you become a bit of a YouTube star, you do get people approaching you to do endorsements for things and promoting stuff on your channel. But so far, I've unilaterally turned them all down because they're just not in line with my brand. Like, I can't be there possibly selling like this solution that's meant to make a man's hair grow back or something.
Yes.
I can't do it.
Can you send me the link to that, by the way?
I think it suits you.
Having some challenges. No, I actually like it. I used to have this long blonde hair, like sort of boy band hair, and then a couple of years ago I just decided to shave it all off, and I love it.
Yeah, I think it's good.
So in terms of the ads, so a lot of people think, oh, I can make lots of money on ads, because we've heard these stories about like this like 8-year-old that like has basically a toy manufacturer sends him the toys and he'll unwrap it and there's ads and then he makes lots of money on it, and now the whole family is kind of doing that. It does have a life expiration though, because kids grow up, but I guess maybe they could still play around with toys. So have you considered just like cutting out the ads on the YouTube channel, or?
I have, but to be honest, I haven't found that it's affected any of my viewing figures at all. So it's if I have a viral video, it might give me a little tiny boost in income, and that's cool. So I'm happy with it. I think I invest so much time and energy in producing good quality videos. I'm like, it's worth that 30-second commercial.
Yeah.
Joy.
How do you treat your subscribers? Because you've got more than 65,000. What's kind of how does that work on YouTube? What's the relationship with them? And
to be honest, I need to do more work with my subscribers. You know, that's something that it's one of those things I run out of time to do every single week, and I always need to do more. So commenting, you know, replying to all the comments that people give builds a real sense of community. Also encouraging your subscribers. So in a couple of weeks, I'm doing a Twitter takeover. So I'm encouraging my YouTube subscribers just to ask me questions on Twitter. So we start to cross-pollinate and they engage with me on different platforms. I also have done a Q&A series. So people would send me their questions and I would produce a video response to them. So that's like a really nice way to give back as well.
Because one of the challenges with YouTube is like YouTube subscribers, just like likes on Facebook, like they're actually owned by the channel, right? So like, I'm not sure to what extent you're able to like extract them or like pull data.
I mean, what you have to do just basically at the end of your video is give something that's like a call to action, which tells them, look, hey, if you've really liked this video, there's actually a few more videos like this. But you have to go to my website and you know, give stuff for free to begin with, you know, because that's how the internet economy works. You give out great content for free, and if someone likes it, they might engage and get more, or they might not. They might just sit there and watch things for free and learn then, and that's also okay. So I think give stuff for free, offer to give more stuff for free on your website, and then the people that you're hardcore fans that value your content will spring across that way.
So what kind of sort of have you ever attended like internet marketing courses? And if yes, what course did you like the most? No, never. I've worked with internet marketers, and to be honest, although I think some of them are basically geniuses in terms of what they do, you know, I've presently anyway at the moment, I've just decided it's just not for me. I'd rather instead focus on having a really strong, very clear brand identity and strong message, which is easy and instant for people to get behind. So I'm actually in the process of rebuilding all my websites, changing all of my banners, actually really thinking carefully about how my brand values are communicated consistently through my website, through my logos, through how I'm writing, and doing that instead. So it's funny how in business that you're constantly like sharpening the saw, like fixing and refining and tweaking and tuning, and like you said with the videos, like you uploaded one video, like how many years ago was the first video?
5 years ago.
Right.
Didn't do anything with that video. Literally, it was nothing.
Right. And then like, you know, people look at you now and you're like, ooh, I want what Hayley has. You know? I want what Hayley has. But it's all about like just doing the first thing and then sort of going from there.
Absolutely. And you know what else is funny? Sometimes people will know my content better than I do. They'll be like, "Oh, you did this video, and I really disagreed with this one point, and how could you put?" And I was like, I don't know. I was probably shooting 20 videos that day. That was the ideas. And like, people don't, sometimes on the outside, you don't understand like the volume that needs to be produced. How do you create that much content? That I don't always get it right. You know, sometimes I'll say stuff that's off point or isn't brilliantly delivered or is badly filmed or, you know, doesn't fit exactly with, you know, the whole brand identity that I built. Because there's some content that'll be there kicking around on the internet which represents my thought process 4 years ago, which is radically different to where I'm at today. You know, so I think because of that, what you'll find is, in fact, it's good to just understand that, you know, I'm basically a one-man band and I'm a personal brand, so my message evolves over time, which I find interesting. But it's also a good lesson, I think, in terms of how we engage with people, to not take the snapshot or to not assume one part of a person is every part of a person. And in fact, everyone's interesting and complex and different, and it's our job to find those points of interest.
I've got a question about, because you mentioned rejection, which basically means failure. What do you do when sort of life hits you in the head with a brick? What's your response to that? Okay,
I'll tell you what my true response is. My true response is, first of all, I'm not joking, if it's a particularly heavy brick, I spend a lot of time emoting about it. I'm a crier. I didn't used to be this way at all, but now I've got into crying, wailing. If I feel a lot of strong emotion, I won't try and distract myself from it. I'll just sit with it for a second. And I often find that the most comforting thing, apart from obviously ringing your mum or your close friend up about 1 million times in one day, is actually to return to yourself. Because often that brick hurts because it's a confrontation to your identity or to your personality. But if your identity and your personality is pretty strong, you will throw the brick off eventually and you go, actually, I can choose to... And, you know, it's hurtful when people misconstrue who you are, or they reject you, or they don't understand you, or they misjudge you, or they don't know the you that you know about you. It can be like, what? And you can want to prove them right. But actually, the trick is really to go, actually, I don't accept your way of seeing me. I don't think that was very nice. I'm going to choose not to take that on board because this is who I am. And actually, if you can have I was going to say balls, the ovaries, the chops, that when somebody does push your identity, to actually be able to answer back and refuse that identity they're trying to put on you, that's probably the best thing that you can ever do for your self-esteem, because there's no one person that's worth you and your sense of self. So you've got to stick with that and grow that and make it super strong, and then those bricks don't affect you so much anymore.
I was sitting having a lamb shawarma in just close to Harrods this week, and the table next to me, there were some investment bankers, and they were talking about sort of business at a level that was just like, very high, like a very high level. And what I realized was like how we all walk around with very different perspectives on the world. So like when we say something or we do something or we say something to somebody else, it's just their perspective. Right. And I think getting to terms with and accepting that somebody's got a perspective on something. Okay, well, that's an interesting perspective, and it's not really anything else but that.
Yeah, exactly. There's no unilateral right or wrong, and in fact, your relationship to a person is a drop in the ocean compared to their past, their fears, their insecurity, what they've learned about the world so far. So that's what they're going to be using to react and respond to you. So we have some power in affecting how people treat us and see us, but we don't have total power. And it's actually good to understand that. And just like you said, that sometimes some people just see the world, in a way that you think is upside down, and that's okay.
So a couple last questions before you have to go.
Yeah, I'm late.
Oh, you're late?
I'm late.
Okay, so where can we get more information about you? And if you've been listening to this podcast and we want to tap into more about you, where do we go?
Okay, so if you're a man and you're like, actually, I'd love to be able to communicate with women better, I'd love to understand them more, tell me. If you go to hayleyquinn.com, which is hayleyquinn.com/hermind, HERMIND, I've got 5 videos there which will be addressing kind of like normal dating issues that guys face, like maybe how to ask her out on a date, or if she doesn't respond to that last message you sent, but very much from a perspective of understanding the woman first and becoming a better communicator. It's super ethical. For the women, if you've liked what I've said and you're like, actually, love should not just be about getting the guy, it's actually about me empowering myself and rocking my own world. If you want to vote for you, go to hayleyquinn.com/real love, REALLOVE. And I've got 5 videos there discussing my pillars by which I believe you can build up your identity to be stronger and more kick-ass to go out into the world and serve you.
Fantastic, guys. We'll also add those links in the show notes. This has been a true pleasure. Thank you for staying over. And have a great day. And I'll see you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This podcast is brought to you by MrOutsource.com. Outsourcing to the Philippines done for you. Mr. Outsource is a recruitment company matching busy entrepreneurs with Filipino virtual assistants, so you can have the time to focus on what's important.